Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janaballabha Girivaradhari Gopi Janaballabha Girivaradhari Yasodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yasodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janaballabha Girivaradhari Gopi Janaballabha Girivaradhari Yasodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yasodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ramo 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ramo 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ramo 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jai, Jai Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivakachara Sarasi Shimad, His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Goswami Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivakachara Sarasi Shimad, Divine Grace, Srila Bhaktivedanta Goswami Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Sri Guru Parampara Ki Jai. Srimad Gita Upanishad Ki Jai. Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai, Sadhu Sangha Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga. Go Premananda, Hari Hari Bol. So, today's verse, number 10, the opulence of the Absolute, chapter, text number 27. First we'll all chant the Mangala Charan. Om Jnana-timirandasya Ganandana Salakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Swapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yukta Padakamalang Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raganatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Prijana Sahitang Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padang Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapcha Kanchana Gaurange Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishavana Sudadevi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpadhrubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bevacha Paritanam Pavnebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. So, like I say, chapter 10 verse 27, the opulence of the Absolute. So, please repeat. uccaiḥśravasam, aśvānāṁ, viddhi mam amṛtodbhavam, airāvatam, gajendrāṇām, narāṇām, narādhipam, uccaiḥśravasam aśvānām, viddhi mam amṛtodbhavam, airāvatam gajendrāṇāṁ, narāṇāṁ ca narādhipam, uccaiḥśravasam aśvānām, viddhi mam amṛtodbhavam, airāvatam gajendrāṇāṁ, narāṇāṁ ca narādhipam. Okay, Matajis, Vaishnavis. Okay, please repeat. Uccaiḥśravasam, Uccaiḥśravā, aśvānāṁ, among horses. Viddhi, know. Mam, me. amṛta-udbhavam, produced from the churning of the ocean. Airāvatam, Airāvata, gaja-indrāṇām, of lordly elephants. Narāṇām, among human beings. Cha, and narādhipam, the king. So, translation Srila Prabhupada. Of horses know me to be Uccaiḥśravā, produced from the churning of the ocean for nectar. Of lordly elephants I am Airāvata, and among men I am the monarch. Please repeat. Of horses know me to be Uccaiḥśravā, produced during the churning of the ocean for nectar. Of lordly elephants I am Airāvata, and among men I am the monarch. Purport, Srila Prabhupada. The devotee demigods and the demons, asuras, once took part in the churning of the sea. From this churning, nectar and poison were produced, and Lord Śiva drank the poison. From the nectar were produced many entities, of which there was a horse named Uccaiḥśravā. Another animal produced from the nectar was an elephant named Airāvata. Because these two animals were produced from nectar, they have special significance, and they are representatives of Kṛṣṇa. Among the human beings, the king is the representative of Kṛṣṇa because Kṛṣṇa is the maintainer of the universe, and the kings who are appointed on account of their godly qualifications are maintainers of their kingdoms. Kings like Maharaj Yudhisthira, Maharaj Parikshit, and Lord Ram were all highly righteous kings who always thought of the citizens' welfare. In Vedic literature, the king is considered to be the representative of God. In this age, however, with the corruption of the principles of religion, monarchy decayed and is finally abolished. It is to be understood that in the past, however, people were more happy under righteous kings. Makam karo chiva chalam pangam laite madam yakri partamaham vande Sri Guru dinataranam. Of horses know me to be Uccaiḥśravā, produced during the churning of the ocean for nectar. Of lordly elephants I am airāvata, and among men I am the monarch. Yes. So, just to revise, O Kṛṣṇa, O Supreme Mystic, how shall I constantly think of you, and how shall I know you? In what various forms are you to be remembered, O Supreme Personality of Godhead? So that was Arjuna's previous question. Kṛṣṇa told him that I'm the source of everything. Those that perfectly know this, they engage in my service. So we know, manmana bhavamad bhakto, always think of me. Concentrate your consciousness on me in a devotional way. Madhyaji, do everything as an offering for me, all your duties, and mam namaskari, pay obeisances to me. So how are we to remember Kṛṣṇa? Already Kṛṣṇa is explained that everything is Kṛṣṇa, but what particular opulences should we remember Kṛṣṇa? Bhagavan means possessor of all opulence. So Bhagavan, possessor of opulence. So Kṛṣṇa has 6 categories of opulence. The first is beauty, that is in the form of the face. Then virya, the right hand, and then detachment, renunciation, vairag, in the left hand. So Krishna's power and Shakti is unlimited in variety and depth, but it is balanced by his vairag, his detachment. Sometimes in the material world, people are very powerful and they use their power to cause trouble for their own fruit. But Krishna is detached at the same time as being powerful. So then the fourth opulence is represented in the torso, wealth. But that also means all opulences like mystic power and so on. So then the 2 legs, the right leg is fame. That is the 5th opulence. Krishna is very famous. He may be not known as Kṛṣṇa, but he is known as the Supreme Lord. Everyone has heard of God. Even the atheists have heard of God. Of course, they have an attitude problem. They're miscreants, duskritina, so they don't accept asuram bhavam asrita. They are awkward when faced with the idea of a superior. So Kṛṣṇa is known throughout all classes of human society. And then the left opulence, left leg rather, is, right leg is knowledge. That means Kṛṣṇa knows everything. He is Nityo Nityanam Chaitanas Chaitananam. He's supremely conscious of every aspect of the creation. material and spiritual. And the left opulence, left leg, is the fame. So Krishna knows everything and he's known everywhere. And he stands on those two opulences. So also the form of the Lord is also the birth of the different categories in human society. It is said the Brahmins are from the face of the Lord because they speak spiritual knowledge and they chant mantra and so on. The Kshatriyas are figuratively the arms of the social body because they maintain and protect the body. The Vaishyas, Krishi Gorakshanam, they maintain the land, protect the cows, Vanijam, and they do trading, which causes artha, opulence, and the Sudras are the legs. So also on the working senses, you can tie those in with the form. The working senses, the voice is associated with ether, so the voice is manifesting from the mouth. The other working sense is the arms. They move in the air, so you have ether and air. And then the torso, or the digestive working sense, the fire of digestion. And then lower than that is the genital, that we perform work through the genital procreation. And that is associated with water. And then the legs, they stand upon the land, the earth, and we work through walking. So the working senses also, they are associated with the Virat Rupa of Krishna. The mouth, the arms, the belly, genital, and the legs. So in this way, the actual form of Krishna is the source. It is expanded in different ways throughout the creation. This is explained in the Vedas. There is a methodology to how the creation is produced. And the Srimad Bhagavatam, it explains this development. So those that accept the Vedas, they become in tune with the knowledge of the universe as manifested in this way. So everything is Krishna. There's one sloka in the Bhagavatam. You're all familiar with Bahunam Jamanamam te Gyanavam mam prapadyante Vasudeva Savamiti Sa Mahatma Sarulabha. That after many, many births, the person who is perfect in knowledge knows me as everything. Vasudeva Savamiti. Vasudeva means he who lives everywhere. So, in the Bhagavatam, first canto, second verse, second chapter, 28 to 29. Vasudeva para Veda, Vasudeva para Maka, Vasudeva para Yoga, Vasudeva para Kriya, Vasudeva param Jnanam, Vasudeva param Tapa, Vasudeva paro Dharmo, Vasudeva para Gati. So this is an expansion of that Vasudeva Savamiti. This is Sutta Goswami instructing the sages at Namasharanya. In the revealed scriptures, the ultimate object of knowledge is Krishna, the personality of Godhead. The purpose of performing sacrifice is to please him. The Vedas are full of sacrifices, yagyas. Yoga is for realizing him. All fruitive activities are ultimately rewarded by him only. He is the supreme knowledge, and all severe austerities are performed to know him. Religion, dharma, is rendering loving service unto him. He is the supreme goal of life. So, Vasudeva Savam iti. This is the expansion of that conception. So everything is Kṛṣṇa, but Arjuna is asking what particularly should we meditate upon. So Kṛṣṇa has told him these opulences. In today's verse there is 3. Uccaiḥśravā, that is the horse that was produced from the churning of the milk ocean. Durvasa, I was just studying it this afternoon. Durvasa had cursed the devotee and the asura to grow old, like we do here on Bhumandala. We start off as handsome young men, but then we get wrinkled and grey-haired and our knees start to get stiff. We get rheumatism. So the devatas had upset Durvasa. He's an expansion of Lord Śiva. As you know, Lord Śiva is Asutosh. He's very easily pleased and he's very easily upset. So Durvasa has that quality to his personality. So he cursed the devas. Oh, you're misbehaving, so therefore you will become like people on Bhumandala. You will also grow old. So the asuras and the devas, they had a communion. They had a similar problem. Usually they're opposed, Surya and Asura. Sura means very pleasure, Asura means not very pleasure. So the Sura, they perform their material duties and they want to enjoy the material energy, but they do it under regulation in the light of Krishna consciousness. The Asuras don't accept the Supreme Person generally, and they want to enjoy unlimitedly. So they are asura, not very pleasure. They're not very happy. It's in the Bhagavatam, 2nd canto, that Lord Brahma created the nescient engagements, one of which is anger after frustration. When we try to enjoy in the material world, we become frustrated. And then we get angry. So generally people who want to enjoy the material energy in an unregulated, exaggerated way, through intoxication, alcohol, bhang, all the drugs that are around nowadays, they become frustrated and angry, and then they become self-destructive and they become destructive of the environment. So this is the frustration of trying to enjoy in an unregulated manner. So anyway, in this case, the asuras and the asuras, they had a similar problem, so they got together and they were told, churn the milk ocean. So they used Matsya as the churning base and the Mount Meru as the churning rod, and they used Vasuki. It's in the 8th canto of the Bhagavatam, and they churned. And first the poison came out. Prabhupada says here that the milk ocean generated poison and nectar. This was what the demigods wanted, the amṛta. Because if they could drink this amṛta, then they would not become aged as cursed by Durvasa. So, you know the story in the 8th canto, Mohini Murti is an expansion of Kṛṣṇa in female form. So she is unlimitedly beautiful, and when the amṛta appeared, she was bewildering to everyone, but particularly bewildering to the asura, and she asked for the amrit from the asuras. The asuras had captured it, and then they were so much entranced. That is the case with the materialistic man. He becomes entranced with the beauty of a woman. Yeah, you want the amrit? Here it is. So you see that in human society even nowadays. A beautiful girl. It is explained there in the Shastra that the bow, the eyebrow is the arch of the bow, and the woman's glance is the arrow, Cupid's arrow. And the woman glances at a man and it fires the arrow of Cupid in his heart. So Mohini, you can just imagine Krishna's unlimited beauty in the form of a woman, that entranced the asuras, and they gave him the amrit, and he gave it to the devotees, not the asuras. So because Krishna favors the devotees, the devotees, they are administrators of universal affairs. They're explained in the Shastra to be the extended limbs. Krishna himself, as we understood last week, the soul of the universe, does not touch the material energy. He's spiritual. But he empowers Indra, Vayu, Brahma, and so on to manipulate and create and regulate the material energy. So he empowers. Just like a prime minister, he empowers one man to be the railway minister, defense minister, finance minister. He doesn't do those occupations himself. So Krishna remains aloof, but he empowers the devotees. And he favors them because though they have the sense of enjoyment and power they want to exert, they are devoted to Krishna. But it is a mixture of karma they want to enjoy. So the asuras, though, they're opposed. So yayatam mam prapadyante, Krishna reciprocates with everyone according to their mentality. So the asuras, they didn't get the amrit. And in fact, explained there that Lord Śiva, he's called Nilkant, you must know, because he swallowed the poison, but he didn't let it through his throat. So Nilkant, there's a blue line. But some of the vicious animals like snakes, scorpions, and so on, some sprinkled on the ground and they took it. So this is extraordinary, but this is actually the way the universe is created. It is created from top down. In this atheistic age, we are told that there was a big bang. No, there was nothing, a big bang, and then there was everything, and everything developed from that through evolution. But actually it comes down. It is developed downwards through prajapatis, different empowered devatas, different gotras, and so on and so forth. It's explained there's 400,000 categories of human life. So anyway, also produced from the churning of the milk ocean were these two elephants. And Uccaiḥśravā, the horse, was produced. There's a story before that. Lakshmi Devi was very attracted to the horse. Anyway, he took shelter in the ocean, and then the elephant, and they were both white, coming out of the milk ocean. And it's explained in the Shastra, I was just studying this after, that this elephant, Airāvata, is not exactly not exactly an elephant that we might see today, but it is a kind of different form of elephant. And so they were taken possession of by Indra, the king of the demigods. And eventually the horse, the pronunciation, Uccaiḥśravā, became the possession of Bali. Bali is now on Sutala, Atala Vitala Sutala. He will be the next Indra when there is a partial destruction of the planetary systems below Mahalok, Svargalok, Buralok, Tapalok, Atala Vitala Sutala, Talatala, Mahatala, Rasatala, Patala. They will all be wound up at the end of the day of Brahma. So then the next Indra will appear, and that will be Bali Maharaj. He's 8th canto. He surrendered the whole universe. He was also an asura, but he surrendered to Vishnu, who was born in a line of asuras. So the devotees appear in Manusha and Asura and Sura Gotras. There's no restriction. Anyone, because everyone is ultimately Achyuta Gotra. So everyone is descended from Achyuta. So these are the great beings mentioned, and Kṛṣṇa explains that these superb manifestations, as described in the Puranas, they are the object of meditation. Even though Vasudeva is everything, Param Gatim, Para, Vedha, the goal of everything, he is the supreme knower. Even though Kṛṣṇa is everything, still we should meditate on Kṛṣṇa through his opulences. That has been recommended to Arjuna. So, on this point, in the Bhagavatam, 28th chapter, 11th canto, when Kṛṣṇa is instructing Uddhava, this same point is made to Uddhava. It's very interesting. And Kṛṣṇa gives a very good example by which we can understand. I'll just say the verse beforehand, because Kṛṣṇa says to Uddhava, real spiritual knowledge is based on the discrimination of spirit from matter, and it is cultivated by scriptural evidence. Austerity, tapasya, direct perception, smaranam, chanting, reception of the Puranas, historical narrations, and logical inference. So this is the path of gaining spiritual knowledge. I'll say those again. Discrimination of spirit from matter, that is called Vijñāna. So that is a very important part to understand what is knowledge. Knowledge is to know what is spirit and what is matter. In the Vaikuntha region, Haridam and Golok, everything is spirit. But here, in the material creation, Kunta, there's a mixture of matter and spirit. So real jnana, real samadhi, is to fix the consciousness on spirit. We are entranced in the material energy by false ego, but yoga means to fix the consciousness on the Supreme. Actually, at the beginning of this chapter, there's a very instructive sloka on that point. We'll also read that for your edification. Text number 1. the Supreme Personality of Godhead said, "One should neither praise nor criticize the conditioned nature and activities of other persons. Rather, one should see this world as simply the combination of the material nature and the enjoying souls, all based on the one absolute truth." That's very interesting, right? You should not indulge in finding fault, criticizing. Two things, Kṛṣṇa says: the conditioned nature and activities of other persons. And you should simply see this world, as we say, it's a mixture of matter and spirit, as a combination of material nature and the enjoying souls. But it's based on the absolute truth. So this is the same point that Kṛṣṇa has been saying since the 9th chapter of Vyaktamurtina. By me in my unmanifest form, this whole universe is pervaded. So this universe is spiritual and matter mixed up. So we have to meditate on the spiritual aspect. That is sadhana bhakti. So those 5 things for attaining that meditation: discrimination of spirit from matter. Number 2, scriptural evidence. So one should study the Vedas under good tuition. Austerity, tapasya. One should follow ekadashi. One should control the senses, regulate the senses, so on and so forth. Direct perception. Now that's very interesting that Kṛṣṇa is saying, after austerity, direct perception. So that means, yes, you will be able to directly realize the absolute truth. So we don't say that many of the man-made religions, you have to believe, just take it on faith. But actually the Vedas say, no, take it by experience. Reception of the Puranas, historical narrations, by studying the Puranas, the histories of the great devotees, the acharyas, the Supreme Lord, and logical inference. So you can also use logic and argument, everything, to examine everything. So the absolute truth, which alone was present before the creation of the universe, and which will alone remain after its destruction, is also the time factor and the ultimate cause. So the absolute truth was present before the material creation, would remain afterward. And he is also in the interim period before the beginning and the end of the material nature. He is the time factor. So sometimes people say, show me God. Well, actually, kalosmiyaham. In the Gita, Kṛṣṇa explains, Arjuna sees the universal form, the Virat Rupa. He sees the material creation, how it is resting upon the Supersoul. And then Arjuna, he's completely astonished. He says, please tell me, who are you? And then Kṛṣṇa, in his Virat Rupa, says, Kalosmiyaham, time I am. So time is the absolute ruler of the material world. People wonder what is the cause of death? Is it highest cause? Cancer, old age, accident, whatever. But the cause of death is time. Everyone through time is brought to the end of this material body. So time is the absolute, it is the representative of the absolute truth within the material sphere. Nobody can override time. You cannot go back in time, you cannot go forward in time. You are carried by time through your life. and you are absolutely dependent on time to do anything. Like we have working senses. To do anything we need time. We're dependent on time. And time marches on whether we like it or not. So time is the representative of Kṛṣṇa, and it speaks to us. This is logical inference. It speaks to us that there is an absolute. In this time in Kali Yuga, people think everything is relative. You have your truth, I have my truth. You have your opinion, I have my opinion. You have your opinion, and my opinion, your opinion, that is the truth. But no, there is an absolute, there is a reality to which we are subordinate, that continues without reference to our opinions, our illusory conceptions. So, I'll say that the absolute truth, which alone was present before the creation of the universe, and which alone will remain after its destruction, is also the time factor and the ultimate cause. So it's produced from Kṛṣṇa, Sāvakarana Karanam. Even in the middle stage, after the beginning and before the end, of this creation's existence, the Absolute alone is the actual reality. So in the Gita, Kṛṣṇa said, Brahman Mahad Yonir, that actually this material energy, yes, Vasudeva Savamiti. In the man-made religions, they have an idea that there's God and the devil, and there's a division. And then we should fight, because you're on the side of the devil and I'm on the side of God. I'm chosen by God and you're not chosen by God. You accept me, my prophet, you don't. Friends and enemies. And that's what Prahlad Maharaj said to his teachers, or he said to Hiranyakashipu, I don't accept these friends and enemies. So you find in religions that have their root or offshoots of the Vedas, you don't get this concept of friends and enemies. Because in the Vedas, those that understand the Vedas understand that everything is the absolute truth. And according to karma, the different spirit souls are enjoying their different result. But ultimately, ananta-rūpam, everything is the absolute truth. So, the absolute truth alone is the actual reality. And therefore, to see that reality is the goal of life, to realize that everything, Vasudeva Savamiti, Samahatma Sadurlabha. So that spirit soul that sees everything as Vasudeva, as the absolute truth, so he becomes a Mahatma. So what is the nature of the Mahatma? Mahatmanas tamam patha devim prakritim ashrita. So if you want to be a successful yogi, you have to see that everything is Vasudeva, and then see that reality without the confusion of creating good and bad. I like this, I don't like this. In the material world, we're always thinking, he's my friend, he's my enemy, this is good, this is unhappiness, this is sukhi-dukhi, and we become confused. But the yogi sees everything as the mercy of Kṛṣṇa, as the energy of Kṛṣṇa. And with this conception, this understanding of reality, he is not disturbed, because Dhirastatra namuyate. He sees Kṛṣṇa in everything and everything in Kṛṣṇa. So that's Mahatma. Mahatmanas tamam patha devim prakritim ashrita. So with this mentality, he can enter the spiritual world. He can become a devotee. This is the basis on which bhakti is performed. That everything is Kṛṣṇa, and now I must meditate on Kṛṣṇa as spirit. I must distinguish the opulent Supreme Lord as different from the material energy. And Kṛṣṇa gives an example here. Gold alone is present before the manufacture into gold products. So gold goes into gold rings, gold necklaces. And the gold alone remains after the product's destruction. So the rings, necklaces, bracelets, they're turned back into gold. And the gold alone is the essential reality while it is being utilized under various designations as rings, bracelets, necklaces, so on. Similarly, I alone exist before the creation of this universe, after its destruction, and during its maintenance. Now, pick up that word, I alone. Ekatva. Yes, so everything is Kṛṣṇa. We know that sloka, Lord Brahma, advaitim, achyutim, anadim, advaitim, non-dual, everything is Kṛṣṇa. Achyutim, he's infallible. Anadim, he's the source of everything. Ananta-rūpam, all the forms that you see of every animal, so on and so forth, every tree, every plant, everything, every element, that is a form of Kṛṣṇa, Ananta-rūpam. Adyam, he is the source, original, and even though Parana, he's the oldest because he's the source, but he is Navayovanam cha. He maintains his form as Kṛṣṇa of Golok Vrindavan. He is ever fresh and ever beautiful. So Kṛṣṇa is explaining that. Gold becomes bracelets, necklaces, so on, and then it may be melted down and it remains gold. So the creation, Kṛṣṇa was before the creation, he becomes the creation, and then it all dissolves back into Kṛṣṇa. This is the nature of the material world. It is pulsed into existence, and then it is withdrawn. In the Bhagavatam is explained, the glance of Mahavishnu upon the embodiment of the material energy, Durga Devi, creates the Mahatattva. From the Mahatattva, all the different categories of material existence are produced. And then when he inhales, it is all dissolved back into the Pradhan. Mahavishnu is lying on the bed of an antasesh. His feet are being massaged by Rama Devi. He's in Yoga Nidra, and he's dreaming the creation with one exhale, and then he's dreaming it back. So it's pulsed in and out. So the material, it is an eternal state, but the special quality of the material nature is that it's temporary. Everything, it is in flux. Everything is created, maintained, and then withdrawn, just like this body, this and that. But we are spiritual beings. So even though our material bodies, they are manifesting and withdrawn, we as spirit souls, we remain. We were also before this material body, and we are in this material body, and then after this material body, we will also remain. So that's very, very nice information. That many people in this material world, particularly in Kali Yuga, they think, oh, we only have one life. Or they think we have one life, and if I'm good, I go to hell forever. And if I'm good, I believe in this strange book, I go to heaven forever. Or maybe I will just non-exist. The atheists say like that, right? We are just a combination of atoms, and when through accident, old age, disease, the body's no functioning, not longer functioning, then that's it. So it's very depressing. No wonder everyone is taking drugs because they've got nothing to look forward to. So, but the devotee knows, I am mama angsa jiva bhuta sanatana, eternal. So therefore, the Vedic religion is called Sanatan Dharma, the eternal Dharma. And Dharma means, it's translated sometimes as religion, but it really means what is the real quality of an object. Just like the quality of water is liquidity, it cannot be separated. Of course, you can make it into ice, but by way of example, the nature or the dharma of water is liquidity. So the nature of the soul is angsa. Just like Kṛṣṇa is eternal, we are eternal beings. So human life is meant to take the consciousness from trying to enjoy matter, Ishvaropi, the controller, aham bhogi, I am the enjoyer, and put it on the consciousness of Kṛṣṇa. That's also dealt in this chapter. The question is asked, why are we entangled? Because if we are eternal spirit soul, spiritual, how is the soul entangled in matter? This is a good question. And if we are not the body, and this body is matter, matter is dull, it has no senses, how is the soul suffering, and how is the body suffering? Because the soul is above material energy, and the body, which is made of material energy, it has no senses without the soul, so how are we suffering? So the answer Kṛṣṇa gives to Uddhava is that through false ego, we identify with the condition of the material body in our consciousness. Our consciousness is experiencing identification with the material situation, and then we are interpreting it as sukhi or dukhi, happiness or distress. So the yogi, he doesn't get into the dualities, friends and enemies, criticism and praising. His primary concern is, I want to fix my consciousness on the name, form, quality and pastimes of the Supreme Lord. So, next Friday, we'll do chapter 29, because that is Jnana Yoga. The next chapter Kṛṣṇa teaches Uddhava is Bhakti Yoga. So Kṛṣṇa gives a very brilliant summary of bhakti. I'll just give you a basic idea, and that is that to see him within all living entities, amṛta-udbhavam, and to see him and offer obeisances to him in all living entities of the material creation, he says this is the best form of self-realization. Kṛṣṇa gives different things, but then at the end he says, yes, I'll just say this. Yes. Yes, indeed, this is the summation. Next week we'll discuss the details. Kṛṣṇa says, indeed, I consider this process, using one's mind, words, and bodily functions for realizing me within all living beings, to be the best possible method of spiritual enlightenment. This is in the Bhakti Yoga section. So we'll discuss the details before that. So yes, now Krishna is explaining aham sarvasya, everything is me. Vasudeva savamiti. Now you meditate upon me as these opulent manifestations, and you relate them to me, the transcendental Lord. And then in this section, Krishna explains the best possible way to realize me is to see me in all living beings. And he tells Uddhava, even in the dog, hog, camel, ass, we should see the Supreme Lord. So, we'll finish at that point. And to develop the purity of that vision, Lord Chaitanya has empowered the Maha Mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So thank you for your kind attention. Any question? One. Yes, go ahead.
When you are living with your juniors or something, your siblings, and if you do not follow the suchi process of the bhakti, just like we know some process we know following the cleanness and everything, but if you're somebody is living with your family, maybe your anybody person is living with you, if it's not followed, so why should we leave the place? Otherwise we have to tolerate that person.
Did you understand that? I didn't understand.
Actually, my question is, suppose that I'm living with my friend, or my cousin and something, and I know what is the process of the bhakti. It means just like the contaminated rules, the suchi rule, basically the process of the cleanness and everything. And if he's not following that rule, so what should I do for?
I can't understand what you're saying. Huh? Can someone give me the? Oh, you're trying to follow bhakti sadhana, but some friends are not. Well, sadhusanga sava shastra hoy, lavamata sadhusanga sava siddhi hoy. Lord Chaitanya was once asked, who is a Vaishnav? And he answered, Lord Chaitanya, Supreme Lord, a satsangi jagi a Vaishnav achar. That the Vaishnav gives up materialistic association. So we have to deal with materialistic people, but we should make friendship and companionship with the sadhu. You understand? We don't necessarily mistreat materialistic people, but we search for devoted association as far as possible. Therefore, you're coming to the temple. Mataji is coming to the temple. You're hearing about Bhagavatam. You're going to the temple. So, that is the answer. If your friends are determinedly materialistic, then you should walk your own path. Yeah, your question? Oh, he had a question. Do you understand the answer? Because bhakti means to discuss Kṛṣṇa. So you can only discuss Kṛṣṇa with devotees, with realized devotees. Materialistic people, they live in a world of just talk and confusion. Well, we have to tolerate. We have to tolerate. We have to tolerate. Oh no, we don't make enemies. Don't make enemies. Just you'll be determined in your own path. Yes. Yeah. Example is better than precept. If you, but there is one thing that I've noticed in all my life. If somebody starts to chant, they become a devotee, even if they don't know anything. If they just come to the temple and they chant Hare Krishna, then the soul wakes up. So in Kali Yuga, the Maha Mantra is especially empowered with Nityananda Shakti. So therefore invite your friends for kirtan and prasadam lunch. Like that. Yeah. But if I found that if you are just friendly to people and encourage them to chant, they become devotees. But if you talk to people, you're in Maya, you're going to hell, you're a materialist, you're a bad person, then obviously they turn off. You understand? So that is foolishness. Then you're just making enemies. It is better to just let people, by your association, and you tell them, if you chant, you will understand. So Rupa Goswami, there's one verse, and he says, if you want to enjoy this material world, then don't go to the bank of the Jamuna, where Kṛṣṇa is standing in Tribhanga, in the moonlight, next to the beauty of the Jamuna. Don't listen to him play the flute, because when you hear that flute, then all your material desires will be lost. So Rupa Goswami says, this is a warning, be careful. So it is a fact. I talked to one godbrother a few months back, and he's from Colombia. He told me, I'm talking to this big politician for 20 years, trying to make him a devotee. I said, have you got him to start chanting? And he said, no. I said, well, then another 20 years will go by. But if somebody, you understand, right? When did you start becoming a devotee? When you started chanting, right? Right, yeah. Like, I can say that myself. I used to like to go hiking in the country, you know, with a backpack. And then somebody gave me a Back to Godhead magazine, and it said, if you chant Hare Krishna, you'll feel blissful. So I thought, that's interesting. So then I used to go walking in the forest, you know, camping here and there for 3-4 days, and I started chanting. My mother had given me some beads, so I started chanting. You know, you walk, say, like 20-30 miles, and then I started chanting, like it said in the magazine, and I thought, this is very nice, this chanting. So, the chanting is very dangerous. Yes? Well, there's 3 types, or 4 actually. There's kirtan, sankirtan, upamans, and manasik. So japa actually means to chant, is to chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. That is japa. Then there is upamans, and like say you're chanting 64 rounds in a day, your vocal cords may become tired, so then you chant within the mouth. That is called upamams. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. And then there is kirtan. That is loud chanting by yourself. And then there is sankirtan, chanting sung with other devotees. So japa, upamanks, kirtan and sankirtan, the four ways. But also, before that, there is also manasik japa, chanting within the mind. You understand? You're not actually verbalizing. So it's recommended you do japa, then upamanks, then manasik, because the physical apparatus cannot chant loudly all day. So you go from the more external to the more internal. And then with internal chanting, you can combine breathing exercises, and you can enter into samadhi that way. So they're all chanting, but we should learn them all and use them accordingly. Manasik japa is said to be the most potent, but Lord Chaitanya is especially pleased, Prabhupada said, by Sankirtan, because when you chant, other living entities hear. The birds, the bees, the trees, they hear. So loud chanting is very powerful and very pleasing to Lord Chaitanya. So all can be done. All of them are potent, yes. Well, the main thing is, if you want your chanting to be potent, is, this will come in the chapter here, japanam, yajnāṇām japa. Of yagyas, I am japa. So japa is a yajna, sankirtan is a yajna, upamanks is a yajna, manasik japa is a yajna. That means it's done as an offering. We've talked about this many. It's an offering, it's a seva. Just like you take a flower and you offer it to the deity. So you are giving to the other, you're giving to the Supreme Lord. So when you chant, it should be your offering to Kṛṣṇa. In the beginning, we chant and we enjoy the devotional sentiment. We become liberated. But in the mature stage, we enjoy love of God because the seva bhav is there, the yajna. So at the beginning, purification of the mind and so on is there, and we feel a taste for chanting. But the higher taste of chanting is when you realize that Kṛṣṇa is enjoying your chanting. And the lowest stage of chanting is, I enjoy chanting. But then the other side of the coin is, Kṛṣṇa is enjoying my chanting. Then you are coming into seva bhav. So we should always cultivate seva bhav, yajna, in our chanting. Okay, we'll finish on that point. Thank you all very much. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. See you next week. We'll do Bhakti Yoga. Jai.